We were friends with certain people on October 6th, and October 8th, all of a sudden we were the enemy. And I think on campus especially, we always knew that there were things bubbling kind of under the surface.
I was blindsided. I did not expect it to accelerate at that rate.
All of a sudden, our children that were on campus found that they could not get to class without being screamed at, without being tormented, and without being bullied.
It affects the ability to learn. It affects our greatest assets, which are our centers of education. And it starts picking winners and losers of who gets the right to an education, who doesn't.
Especially on a campus that prizes liberalism, inclusivity, tolerance, diversity, to then have what felt like a majority of the student body turning their backs on Jews because we were attacked.
On the night of October 7th, as my friends and classmates saw the images of women bleeding from their private areas, saw the images of babies crying as they were being hoarded onto motorcycles taken into Gaza, saw the images of burnt, charred bodies, they jumped out of bed, some still in their pajamas, to draft what they called an emergency statement to blame Jews for the largest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. A statement written by more than 34 student groups representing more than 1,000 students opens by saying we hold the Israeli regime entirely responsible for all unfolding violence in the Middle East.
Now, just as malicious lies were leveled for centuries at the Jewish people, malicious lies are now being leveled at the Jewish state.
It gave a permission slip, literally, to people that hate Jews to come out and just say the most hurtful, terrible things.
You could almost feel the intensity of the culture war that was about to erupt on campus.
After October 7th, it took less than a week until SJP launched their first rally to globalize the Intifada, and from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And as we know, that is calling for the direct extermination of Jews living from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea.
There was a letter that came out from SJP expressing solidarity with the resistance on October 8th, 2023. And if that isn't interpreted as sheer support for Hamas's massacre on October 7th, I don't know what is.
Whether it was the physical assault against a Jewish student at Harvard Business School, whether it was the staff member who defaced all of our hostage posters, taunted me with a machete, asked me to debate him as to whether Jews were behind 9/11, whether it was the Jewish student wearing a kippah who was spat on, whether it was the Israeli student being asked by her professor to leave the class because her nationality made others uncomfortable.
I do think that the Columbia administration is becoming increasingly aware that there is broad support for terrorism among the student body and more pressingly among the faculty. But I am just astounded that it's taken them over a year to slowly reach this conclusion when these groups were celebrating a massacre on October 8th.
They're working overtime to try to cover this up. You saw an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. And my question, though, is they hired so many PR consultants to help the university presidents. How many people have they hired on campus to combat anti-Semitism? The answer is zero. Zero.
We're heading to a point where Jewish students will not be able to attend university on campus. This happened in the 30s in Germany when the Jews were thrown off a campus, and we're heading in that direction. So unless something dramatic happens, our students are going to no longer be welcome on campuses in the United States of America, and then frankly, I believe the whole system will start to collapse.
Over here is one of the South Lawns, and this is where a lot of the action took place last year. These were hundreds of students and faculty members at Columbia that were part of this really, frankly, just anti-Semitic festival that was allowed to take place and continue on for weeks into finals, so much so that the end of the semester was put onto Zoom. Finals were either put online, postponed, or canceled altogether because the university cowered to the mob. And mind you, this is a mob that would not let Jews and Israelis enter past the perimeter of the gates unless we denounced our Zionism. Thank you for listening to our stories. You've seen the hate spreading like wildfire on campuses across the country. It's hostile, it's isolating, and it's real. But we're not backing down. We're putting our time and energy on the line, but we can't do it alone. Students need more resources and support to stand up against anti-Semitism, and you can help us receive those resources. Right now, there's a crucial election for the World Zionist Congress. My friends, Shabbos, Eli, and I, along with 17 other student activists, are running as part of the Aish Ha'am slate to ensure that critical funding goes where it's needed most, supporting Jewish students. For just $5 and 3 minutes of your time, you can help us access the resources to fight anti-Semitism on our college campuses where it is so sorely needed. Vote now for Aish Ha'am. Take a stand and join us. Thank you.